You might think weddings are all about love, commitment, and happily ever after. But here's the truth. Many of your favorite wedding traditions come from fear, ownership, kidnapping, and some seriously bizarre customs. That veil? Not for modesty. Those bridesmaids? Not just for Instagram photos. And that romantic threshold moment? Originally designed to prevent escape. I'm about to ruin every wedding you'll ever attend. Let's dive in. Let's start with the wedding veil. That elegant, romantic piece of fabric that seems to symbolize purity and mystery. Beautiful, right? Wrong. The wedding veil's origins are rooted in supernatural terror and literal kidnapping prevention. In ancient Rome, brides wore thick, flame-colored veils called the flammeum that covered them from head to toe. Because evil spirits were believed to be jealous of human happiness and would possess or harm the bride on her wedding day, the moment when she was most vulnerable to supernatural attack. But it gets darker. In many ancient cultures, including Rome and beyond, marriages were not about love. They were business transactions. And brides were often unwilling participants. The veil served a dual purpose: hide the bride's face so she couldn't be identified and stolen by rival suitors, and prevent her from seeing where she was being taken until it was too late to escape. In arranged marriages, some brides didn't even see their husband's face until after the ceremony was complete. The veil ensured no last-minute cold feet could ruin the family alliance. Would you marry someone you'd never seen? Today, the veil is lifted in a romantic gesture. Originally, it was the moment a woman discovered who she'd been legally bound to for life. Let's talk about those bridesmaids in their matching dresses. You probably think it's just about aesthetics and showing off your closest friends. Think again. Bridesmaids were originally decoys, human shields designed to confuse evil spirits, demons, and yes, kidnappers. In ancient China, Rome, and throughout medieval Europe, bridesmaids dressed exactly like the bride. Same dress, same veil, same everything. The logic? If evil spirits showed up to curse the bride, they wouldn't know which woman to attack. It was spiritual camouflage. And in times of tribal warfare and bride capture, which was depressingly common, having multiple women who were dressed identically made it much harder for rival clans to identify and kidnap the actual bride. These weren't just friends supporting the bride. They were literal body doubles willing to take a supernatural or very real hit for their friend. Would you risk demonic possession for your bestie? The threshold carry. One of the most romantic moments in wedding tradition. The strong groom, the blushing bride, the first moment entering their new life together. But this tradition has 3 separate dark origins, and all of them are deeply disturbing. Origin 1. Ancient Rome. Romans believed that evil spirits and bad luck lurked in doorways, liminal spaces between worlds. If the bride tripped while entering her new home, it would bring catastrophic misfortune to the marriage. Solution? Don't let her walk. Carry her so her feet never touch the cursed threshold. Origin 2. Medieval Europe. This one's worse. In many medieval cultures, the bride was literally unwilling, often captured or coerced into marriage. The groom carried her over the threshold because she was trying to escape. She was being forcibly removed from her father's house and installed in her husband's home. The romantic carry was originally a restraint technique. Origin 3. Ancient Germanic and Celtic traditions. Brides were believed to be so modest and virtuous that they had to be forced into the marriage chamber. A willing bride would seem too eager, improper, so she had to appear reluctant, even if she wasn't. So that Instagram-worthy moment? Originally about supernatural protection, preventing escape, or performing false modesty. Was that romance? Wedding rings. The universal symbol of eternal love and commitment. Or are they? The wedding ring tradition dates back to ancient Egypt. Reeds and hemp were woven into circles and placed on the 4th finger of the left hand, believed to contain the vena amoris, or vein of love directly connected to the heart. That's the pretty story. Here's the reality. In ancient Rome, wedding rings were called annulus pronubis, and they were given by the husband to the wife as a public symbol that she was now his property, not his partner, his possession. The ring was a seal on a contract. Like a brand on livestock, it announced to all other men, this woman is claimed. For most of history, only women wore wedding rings. Why? Because only women needed to be marked as taken. Men were free to be unfaithful without consequence. The tradition of men wearing wedding rings didn't become widespread until World War II, when soldiers wanted to carry a reminder of their wives. Before that, the ring was a one-way symbol of ownership. And that diamond engagement ring you think is an ancient tradition? That's a 1940s marketing campaign by De Beers. A diamond is forever created a tradition that's barely 80 years old. So your timeless tradition was invented by an ad agency. Today, cutting the wedding cake is a sweet, cooperative moment. The couple feeds each other delicate bites. It's adorable. In ancient Rome, there was no cake. There was a barley cake or bread called conferiatio, and it wasn't cut. It was violently broken over the bride's head. Yes, you heard that right. The groom would take a loaf of barley bread and smash it over his new wife's head in front of all the wedding guests. Why? Because it represented fertility. The harder the cake exploded, the more children the couple would have. The crumbs represented abundance, prosperity, and pregnancy. This evolved into medieval European traditions, where guests would scramble to grab pieces of the cake that had touched the bride, believing it would bring them good luck and fertility. Imagine your wedding reception turning into a rugby scrum over your head trauma cake fragments. Eventually, this became the tradition of stacking small cakes as high as possible. If the bride and groom could kiss over the stack without knocking it down, prosperity was ensured. That modern trend of smashing cake in your partner's face? You're actually participating in an ancient fertility violence ritual. Was this romantic or just assault with baked goods? The garter toss. Slightly awkward, kind of funny, usually involves a drunk groomsman catching it with his teeth. Harmless fun, right? This tradition comes from one of the most invasive, horrifying wedding customs in history, the medieval bedding ceremony. In medieval Europe, marriages weren't considered valid until they were consummated. And because marriages were legal contracts involving property and alliances, the consummation had to be verified. That meant witnesses, lots of witnesses. Family members, clergy, and important guests would literally escort the couple to their bedroom. They would stay outside the door and wait for proof that the marriage had been completed. But it gets worse. In some traditions, guests were allowed, or even expected, to follow the couple into the bedroom to ensure consummation happened. To prove the bride was a virgin and the marriage was legitimate, someone had to produce the bloody bedsheets. As this practice, thankfully, became less socially acceptable, it evolved into a symbolic ritual. Wedding guests would try to steal pieces of the bride's clothing, her garter, stockings, even pieces of her dress, as proof and for good luck. This often turned into a literal mob scene where drunk guests would chase and grab at the bride, ripping her clothes. Eventually, probably because brides were tired of being assaulted at their own weddings, the tradition evolved. The groom would remove the garter himself and throw it to the crowd to distract them from attacking his wife. Today, it's a playful bouquet toss equivalent for single men. But you're basically participating in a watered-down version of a public deflowering ceremony. Still want to catch that garter? Speaking of tossing things, let's talk about the bouquet toss. It seems harmless. Single women compete to catch flowers and predict who will marry next. But this tradition comes from the same clothing-grabbing chaos we just discussed. In medieval England and France, wedding guests believed that touching the bride or grabbing a piece of her clothing, flowers, or accessories would transfer her good fortune to them. This led to brides being literally mobbed at their own weddings. Guests would tear at her dress, rip flowers from her hair, and snatch anything they could grab. Brides started carrying bouquets specifically to throw them as a distraction, like throwing meat to wolves. Here, take these flowers and leave me alone. The tradition evolved into the organized bouquet toss we know today, but the underlying belief remained. Whoever catches it will be blessed with marriage next. Now let's travel to Scotland for one of the most bizarre pre-wedding traditions still practiced today, the blackening. And when I say bizarre, I mean truly shocking. In some parts of Scotland, particularly the northeast, friends and family of the bride and groom will kidnap them before the wedding, sometimes days before, and cover them head to toe in a mixture of rotten eggs, spoiled milk, fish guts, tar, feathers, molasses, flour, or any other disgusting substance they can find. Then, they parade the couple through town, sometimes tied to a tree or the back of a truck, while everyone honks horns, bangs pots, and makes as much noise as possible. The couple is displayed in public, in their absolute worst state, humiliated and filthy, for hours. They believe that if the couple can endure this together, if they can survive public humiliation, disgust, and embarrassment as a team, then they can survive anything marriage throws at them. It's a test of resilience, sense of humor, and partnership. If you can laugh while covered in rotting fish guts, you can probably handle a disagreement about whose turn it is to do the dishes. And yes, people still do this, willingly, today. Could your relationship survive this? Let's head to South Korea for a tradition that is less common now, but still practiced in some regions. Falaka, or foot flogging. After the formal wedding ceremony, the groom's friends would remove his shoes and socks, tie his ankles together, and proceed to beat the soles of his feet with a stick or dried fish. While this is happening, they quiz him, asking trivia questions, testing his knowledge, or making him recite marriage wisdom. If he gets answers wrong, they hit harder. The stated purpose is to test his strength and knowledge before his first wedding night, ensuring he's prepared for marriage. The real purpose? It's hazing. It's his friends making sure his last moments, as a free man, are memorable. Sometimes they also do this to ensure the groom stays strong during the wedding night. If he can endure foot beatings without crying, he can endure marriage. Modern versions are much gentler, more playful taps than actual beatings. But the tradition persists as a test of the groom's fortitude and his friend's sense of humor. American weddings celebrate with booze. Korean weddings test your survival. In Greek weddings, you'll often see guests smashing plates on the ground during the celebration. It looks festive, energetic, and fun. The origins? Warding off evil spirits through noise and destruction. Ancient Greeks believed that loud noises scared away demons and malevolent spirits. Breaking plates served multiple purposes. The crash drives away any evil entities trying to curse the marriage. The broken pieces can never be made whole again, symbolizing that the couple's union is permanent and cannot be undone. And the more plates you break, the more prosperity and abundance you're wishing on the couple. Destruction as blessing. In modern practice, many venues have banned actual plate smashing because of insurance reasons, so guests often throw flower petals or napkins instead. But traditional celebrations still feature the satisfying crash of ceramic. Destructive? Yes. Effective against demons? Probably not. Beyond these major traditions, weddings are absolutely drowning in bizarre superstitions from around the world. Let me rapid-fire some of the strangest. In Germany, friends of the couple break porcelain dishes before the wedding in a ceremony called Polterabend. The couple must clean up the mess together, teaching them that marriage is about cleaning up problems as a team. Also, the noise scares away evil spirits. In southern United States, they bury a bottle of bourbon upside down at your wedding venue exactly 1 month before the ceremony. This ensures good weather. If it ends up raining, dig up the bottle and drink your sorrows away. In Sweden, if the bride leaves the table, all the women line up to kiss the groom. If the groom leaves, all the men kiss the bride. It's not cheating. It's tradition. In China, Tujia people's tradition is that the bride must cry for 1 hour every day for a month before the wedding. Then her mother joins her, then her grandmother. It's called crying marriage and represents the sadness of leaving your family. Nothing says celebration like mandatory weeping. In Kenya, the Maasai people have this tradition where the father of the bride spits on her head and breasts before she leaves with her husband. It's a blessing. It's also saliva on your wedding day. In Romania, mock bride kidnapping. The bride is stolen during the reception, and the groom must pay a ransom, usually drinks for everyone, to get her back. Because what's a wedding without simulated abduction? In historical Japan, aristocratic brides would blacken their teeth with dye, ohaguro, because white teeth were considered ugly and demon-like. The process involved soaking iron in vinegar and tea until it created a black solution. The smell was apparently horrific, but beauty is pain. In some regions of France, after the wedding, friends gather the leftover food, champagne, and sometimes actual garbage, put it in a toilet bowl, and make the couple eat or drink from it. It's called le pot de chambre, and it supposedly builds a strong stomach for marriage. And you thought your wedding was weird. Here's what's fascinating about tradition. It's constantly evolving. Today, we're seeing people take these ancient traditions and completely reinvent them. Brides wearing colored dresses or jumpsuits instead of white. Couples writing their own vows that explicitly reject ownership language. Bridesmaids and groomsmen of any gender. Ring ceremonies that emphasize equality, not ownership. Wedding cakes that are smashed playfully, not violently. Garter tosses replaced with anniversary dances or charitable donations. Some people are keeping traditions, but changing their meaning. Others are abandoning them entirely and creating new rituals that reflect their values. We're seeing beautiful fusions, couples honoring multiple cultural backgrounds, blending traditions, or inventing entirely new ones. And some people are rejecting the whole enterprise, eloping, having tiny ceremonies, or skipping marriage altogether. The point is, traditions only have the power we give them. We are ritual-creating creatures. We always have been. When faced with uncertainty, transition, or fear, we invent elaborate ceremonies to help us feel in control. It's not just weddings. We have rituals for births, deaths, coming of age, harvests, seasons, grief, celebration. Rituals are how we mark time, create meaning, and connect with each other. The dark origins of wedding traditions don't necessarily make them bad. They make them human. They show us how far we've come and how much we've changed. What matters is consciousness. Are you performing a ritual because you understand and embrace its meaning? Or are you doing it because that's what people do? Would you wear a veil knowing it originally hid you from kidnappers? Would you carry a bouquet knowing that brides threw them to escape mobs? Would you exchange rings knowing they once symbolized ownership? Maybe you would. Maybe you wouldn't. The power is in choosing consciously. Every culture has strange traditions when you examine their origins. That's not criticism. It's a celebration of human creativity and our endless ability to create meaning from nothing. So the next time you attend a wedding, look around. See the ancient fears we've transformed into celebrations. See the power structures we've rewritten as romance. See the superstitions we've kept because they're beautiful, even if we don't believe them anymore. We take the darkness of history and turn it into light. We take fear and make it festive. We take control and choose to call it love. That's not just wedding traditions. That's humanity. So here's my question for you. Knowing what you know now, which wedding tradition would you keep? Which would you ban? Are there any you'd bring back, even the weird ones? Let me know in the comments, and be honest, would you survive a Scottish blackening? Would you participate in a foot flogging? Would you smash plates or break cake over your partner's head? If this video ruined weddings for you, or made you appreciate them more, hit that like button. Subscribe and ring that notification bell. Because a bell without a clapper is just bad luck. I made that up. See how easy it is to create traditions? Spoiler alert, almost everything you love has a disturbing backstory. Until then, remember, every tradition started somewhere, and somewhere is usually weirder than you think. Thanks for watching. Now go forth and make informed decisions about your wedding, or anyone else's.